be very, very excellent artists. And we have a fine example of that on the wall of the museum, the exterior wall. Okay.
So just get started? Okay. Great. Hi, thanks. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all your time. Let's see. Yeah, so when I was asked to do this exhibit, they asked me to reimagine mythical creatures. That's what they asked me to do. And so I did, except I added a whole new storyline to it, a whole narrative about the diaspora and the immigrant story.
Could we have a little bit? Yeah, we
just wanted to think about my own work, because none of my, like Kathy mentioned, I am an artist, and none of my work is actually presented in this exhibition. So my work, in a sense, is the design and curation of the exhibit and the content or the narrative. I think the narrative aligns really closely to my personal work, and so that's where it becomes interesting to myself. So let's see. So it is the entire museum. It is all 10 rooms. The first room is divided actually into 3 rooms. There's an intro room. There's the old man's restaurant, and then there's a room we call the Compass. So I'll take you through all of that. When you enter into the title of the exhibit is Mythical Creatures, the Stories We Carry. So it's still centering mythical creatures, but really the narrative's carried through by the immigrant stories. So.
And what?
The stories we carry.
The stories we carry.
So when you enter when you enter the museum building, and then you walk down the corridor, you walk to the right, as you all know, into the first room. And that's what we call the intro room. And the first thing you'll see there is a piece of art, the text, and then you'll see this. That's not the actual video you'll see, but it's a version I created on AI so I could give it to the filmmakers who are actually making the actual version of it. So that's your introduction to the whole exhibit. I think the idea behind that was to tie basically all the Asian communities here in LA to history and the fact that mythical creatures existed all throughout time, from ancient history to the present day, and then how that all connects and how they exist in our lives in a very live way, in a very living sense, in the way we continue to incorporate them into our lives. So what you didn't really see and what I couldn't really do with the limitations of AI was see instances of mythical creatures in like the various Asian communities that you just saw here. So that'll be more apparent in the actual film that you see. And then we introduced the old man. The old man, we just call him the old man because we're trying to not give him too much of a presence, but he is sort of the protagonist of the exhibits. But he's not, he doesn't have a name, he's just shown throughout the exhibit in quotes. And in this video, and it's just a device for us, an opportunity for us, and a device for us to be able to really personify the idea of someone who might have immigrated over here and settled here. And this is actually a true to life experience because the screen will be almost this exact size. So, okay, so, all right. Let's see. So as soon as in that same room, when you turn to the right, you'll see his storefront. The storefront you just saw in the video. So we're connecting the video to the reality of the experience. And let's see. Okay, here we go. And then you walk in, and you'll see the first exhibit. The design is very much in the sense of the old man's restaurant that you saw in the video. But you know, as you can see, there are vitrines and there are museum objects as well as contemporary objects here. The vitrines are designed to look like they're kind of, they fit in this convergence of a restaurant museum space and like a nostalgic space. There'll be photographs I'm collecting from community on the wall. So you'll get a very true sense of like the Diaspora community in here. And then all the objects, the museum collection objects, they're basically a preview of what you're going to be seeing throughout the exhibit. And then I was very inspired by makeshift altars that you see like in donut shop or restaurants, all sorts of shops. And so we'll have instances of those altars as well here. You know, those are like ways, again, how we give life to these mythical creatures in their daily lives in present day culture, right? And that anybody who walks into this store will has experience, right? Any donut shop you've gone to. So that's the idea here. So these are examples of what the photos will look like. They'll look kind of haphazard in terms of the framing, but that's intentional to make it look very lived. These are examples of some photos we've collected. These are examples of more photos that I'm looking for. Lots of examples of photos because I'm trying to impress on you that I know you've heard a lot, but we are still collecting photos continuously, so if you have photos, please send them to this email. We need a lot. We only have like 100 at this point, so we need a lot more because they will be used in this exhibit and then another room as well. So again, here are examples. They're beautiful, they're touching, and if you talk about like a picture tells a million words, or is that how it goes? I mean, these stories are deep and incredible, just in the imagery. So we'd love to, you put in so much time to the museum, we'd love to like feature your stories as well as part of the exhibit and as part of the story. So. And again, examples of families together, intergenerational, parents and children, and achievement as well, like graduation. So they're telling that story of success, like how the sacrifices that came before us set us up for success. So honoring that part of the story as well. The next room is the compass room. It's based on this low pen. It's customarily used for like, it's feng shui, so you enter a room and then someone who is an expert in this will use this compass and kind of dictate what goes where in the room. So it's loosely based on this idea, but what's interesting about this for me was that it encompasses the world in terms of all the energy that the world has, all the elements, all the natural landscapes, all the zodiac animals, all the directions, perfect harmony, man in the middle, heaven and earth. So it basically describes everything that is in our existence. And this is the world that we live in with mythical creatures, right? There are very few mythical creatures that can transcend. So heaven actually is sky, the sky we see, and space, because that's what we can see as human beings, and then beyond that's the world of the gods, right? So mythical creatures live within space and sky, but with us together. But there's like mythical creatures like the phoenix that can transcend both, right? So there's a few that can transcend both, but this talks about the world we live in with mythical creatures. So this is an initial concept. I'm just showing this because this gives you a sense of what the room could look like. It's a dark room with like lit elements. It won't look like this elaborate. What we did do is commission an artist, Indian American artist, and it's a little bit hard to tell here, but everything is ceiling mounted, and they're actual mesh sculptures, and then there's projection, animated projection that's hitting them, so giving them life and movement. Let's see here. And then this is a little bit harder to see, but it's a map of what it will look like. So you can see the projectors and then the suspended elements there. And then this is an aerial view of it. So you're looking down from the sky and you can see how it's mapped out. So the idea is, for some of them, they're too low, but to walk under, but some of the other ones you can't walk under them. So it's a full experience with, and there's sound elements in all the rooms as well. So we brought on a composer. So, you know, I think very in terms of emotion a lot. So I wanted to really evoke emotion in this experience. So the emotion's like 50% of, like a movie, if you watch the movie without the sound, you wouldn't cry in that scene, but then once that music hits, you'll cry, right? So, so the compass is basically a portal. So once you exit the portal, now you're entering a journey, the Diascript journey. And so this is the night crossing, and this is a very early rendition, but it's basically the room's painted dark like this as well, and it features all the Oni and the yokai, and a Balinese demon as well, mask as well. And it features, and this is, it features this, the 100 Monster Parade scroll from Japan. And if you don't know the story is about, you know, the one night in Japan where 100 is just a number for so many, where so many demons just kind of parade through a city and the people are terrified. But this really talks about the beginning of the journey where you're really facing your fears and the thought of leaving home. Also here is featured this, again, there's contemporary sculpture in almost every space along with the museum objects, and this one's from New York by an artist called Aeon. They're a couple, Korean-American couple, and these are all zodiac animals. So this is a massive 8-foot by 8-foot floor print installation, and this is for example, a detail shot. This is an ox. So this will be centered in that space, and they're sort of the protectors, right? They're the zodiac animals, so they're animals you can relate to. You know, by the fact that we all can have a zodiac animal associated with us based on when we were born, right? So next is a departure room. This is again an early rendition. The only difference here is that dragon up top did not fit in our budget, so we took that out. But it's a fully immersive film that a filmmaker is working on now. So all 4 rooms, there's going to be airplane seats in the middle, and then some dragon objects in the front when you first enter. And the featured mythical creature obviously is a dragon, and the story that's told in that immersive film is really about the departure. So it's like, talks about the human condition, talks about the tension of deciding to leave, and finally making that journey. And so that's what this room is about. And then the airplane seats are really so you can, you know, there's a sense of empathy and really trying to feel that idea of travel, right? This is sort of the feeling because this is also just a rendering I did, and it doesn't capture the feeling, but this is sort of more the feeling of what the room's going to be like. The next room after that is, we call it the room that features a parental sacrifice. So it's 3 pools, and in each of the pools, there's these animated lotus patterns that are projected from up top. And it's interactive, so when you approach it, they'll ripple open, and then, again, this is where the photos come in. Some of the photos that are submitted will float up to the surface, and you'll see these photos, and they're connected to, they trigger a certain sound or music that layers in when that happens. So there's 3 instances of that. They're all separate, and the featured mythical creatures here are the turtle, the deer, and the crane, because of how they serve relationally and sacrificially in the stories that they're featured in. The walls will be painted in a gradient, like a sunset, and there's, yeah, we have a commission artwork here. We have lots of contemporary work, as well as museum objects here as well. There'll be some pedestals with museum objects and a lot of 2D contemporary works on the walls here. So. The next room is a forest. The theme here is resilience, and the trees are going to look a lot like this. The objects will be embedded in the trees. Here you'll meet a lot of guardians, and then we don't really have a nine-tailed fox in our collection, so we have a commissioned painting here featured. The idea is you kind of have to, I mean, there's a clear path, but there's also, you can walk through the trees, so you can get lost as well. So the idea is to physically embody that idea of resilience, or finding your way in the space. And then there's hidden nooks and crannies where the nine-tailed fox will be, and then also the Kirin. So the Kirin is also, they were originally going to be sculptures, but again, time and budget, so they are now paintings that are going to be sort of hidden in a nook and cranny. The Kirin is a guardian, and then the nine-tailed fox is trickster, right? So what's cool is that trickster, the nine-tailed fox, turns into a woman in the story, and so we're going to do a lenticular where you see that transformation when you're looking at the piece. So, and let's see here. There'll be contemporary wall pieces here as well as 3 museum object pieces, wall pieces, as well as some sculptural pieces. Next is the American Dream, and this really talks about, the Gold Mountain, if you're not familiar, is what the early Chinese pioneers called America when they first came over, because they heard there's gold and opportunity here. So they were coming to Gold Mountain to find success. We all know some did and many didn't, so that's the idea. It's based on the look is based on a Zen temple in Japan, but the Gold Mountain represents both achievement in that you achieve that Gold Mountain, or it's a mountain you got to traverse, and it's really slippery and hard to actually get to the peak, right? So the featured museum objects are the Jinchan, the frog that offers you a coin, and you have to use it wisely, and if you don't use it wisely, there are consequences, essentially. We are building our own Jinchan as well, a mechanical Jinchan, where it has a lever and you pull it, so it's an interactive element too, and it'll give you a coin. So you can actually walk away with a coin here. And the museum objects will be embedded in the mountain. So, oh, there was a picture I meant to show you, but I forgot to. So the next room is, this is it's a cave of identity, and this one, it's a very, very tiny room. If you don't remember, it's basically a passageway. So the wall will be covered in this material to give it sort of a cave-like feel, but the main wall is really this interaction, this video interaction. It's AI-generated imagery. Let me see here. by an artist from Germany, Berlin, a Korean-American artist named Ho-Jin Kang, and let's see here. Oh, no, okay. Let's see. Oops. Not that one. Okay, we're gonna get, do you mind if we watch it sideways? Let me see if I can find a better version. Okay, here we go. So that will be the interaction in that room. So there's a camera mounted there, and there's a camera mounted there, and it's showing you back to you. And there's it's called a generative AI, and so you program the AI to look for specific filters, and then so it transforms you. In that sort of filter, in the visual of that filter, essentially. So, and it's continuously changing. So, this is one example of the artist's work. He's making a specific commission based on the complexity of identity that we talked about for this specific exhibit. So, they'll be similar but different. So. And here the Naga are featured. Those are the museum objects. There'll be two, it's a very small room again, so there'll be two sort of plexi windows on each end that feature the Naga. Naga are snake-like creatures, and they sort of talk about the duality. So next is a village. This is again an early rendition. We won't have space for the tables anymore, but you see there is a vending machine on the left. And so we are featuring a vending machine which will probably spit out cards. We're still figuring out what that is. But that coin you got earlier from the Jinchan room, you would use it here to redeem your card. And this room really talks about the village it takes to really kind of figure your way out here, or kind of your network or your comfort. The old man. So when I was designing the exhibit, I tried to just imagine an imaginary figure to build, because it's incredibly hard to make a story based on nothing. So you have to create a figure first, a character. But if you just imagine a character, it's very hard. So then I was like, how do I create a character so I could base this narrative on? So then it's loosely based on my father. So like his quote here, or the old man's quote, again based on my father, which I don't think it's stated explicitly anywhere publicly, but would be like, I still, 30 years later, I still meet up with all my high school friends who all came over here. Some made it and some didn't, but we don't. That doesn't make a difference because we have each other, and there's no judgment here. There's just comfort. So something like that, right? So there'll be quotes like that in every room that really kind of bring you to the reality, or really a personal sense of what the experience might be like. So we have two large contemporary pieces here. I am also going to, while I don't have personal work, there is this museum object. It's a tanuki. Tanuki are famous in Japan for being in front of storefronts. I think has a sense of good luck, and very, very connected to commerce. But we're 3D printing a one-to-one version, and so I don't have work here, but I am gonna make a version where I am gonna put some graffiti over as a featured exhibit, as a featured piece here in this room. That graffiti, I think what it talks about is just sort of, it's really talking about the youth and just how coming up in LA, as children of immigrants, we had to really find our way on the streets, or find our own way. We're latchkey, our parents are busy working, we're kind of finding our own way. We're, the Black and the Latino, kids already were established because they've long existed here and, found their culture, and, we're not white, so we're the outsiders essentially. And so a lot of times we turn to graffiti or gangs. And so it's just speaking into that narrative a little bit. The next room is what is home, and basically it features a very, the first apartment I remember as a kid growing up in. Of course, my parents, have long moved away from this kind of space. They have a 2-story house in Torrance now, but. I remember growing up in this kind of space, so it's really about like kind of your first home, or kind of the beginnings of when you first come here. This is a model of it, a rendering, and you see those rectangles in the middle. That's a table, but embedded in that table is an LED screen, and on that LED screen. So Annie and I were just here this weekend shooting because we volunteered ourselves and our families, but. This will be shown. So we filmed multiple families just having conversation, speaking language, and eating food. So this will be looping in that center as like a featured piece. And then so just think about being in this small space with this apartment setting, and then just hearing the clinking, the food moving around, and then the voices of laughter. The songs, and then the conversation. Also, there will be a contemporary artist featured here that does paintings about Koreatown. So just some wall pieces here, and then there will be museum objects shown in the piece of furniture there. This is the final room. We made it to the end. This is the Phoenix. Again, the Phoenix is special. It's truly special in the sense that, as well as dragons, I think that's why you see phoenixes and dragons so much, because they are sort of the top of the food chain in terms of mythical creatures. They have the special ability to traverse heaven or the world of the gods and world of man. So it's an infinity room. The Phoenix, again, this was an original concept where it was going to be made of glass, and so it's going to have the ability to shoot out all that refractive light, but I don't think we're going to be doing that anymore. It's going to be 3D printed. It'll still be very beautiful. Oh, here's what it looks like now. So that's what it's going to look like. That's an actual model of it. It'll still be a 3D infinity room with all the mirrors. But the narrative here is really about the future. I mean, hope, the future, ultimate belonging, and like generational continuance. It's about children and how the story continues, right? So, and then so so it's supposed to be a really magical, hopeful feeling here. And then, so actually there's an epilogue. So once you exit the last gallery, you'll turn around, and in the gift shop, you'll see this. You'll meet the old man again. And if you remember at the very beginning, he picked up a phoenix feather, or a peacock feather, which, in a lot of descriptions is what the phoenix is. But you see him here now, except he's with his son and his grandchildren. So it's just showing that story, that continuance of the generational continuance. The story goes on, the family lives on, and there is a hopeful future. Also in the gift shop, and I forgot to include that, but there's a huge museum object tapestry of a phoenix that's spread over the fireplace. If you don't remember, there's a fireplace. So directly to the left, adjacent to this. So that's the epilogue here. And that's it. That's the whole exhibit. Does anybody have questions?
More. You want to get together?